All right, so we started recording. Okay, so as you can see here today on this third session of this module, no, remember that this is the third session of the teaching writing module. So the last class we were talking about different ways to teach writing, no? Writing for writing and writing for learning. And then we saw some activities that we could do in order to practice it, to reinforce these two ways of teaching writing. No? So writing for writing or writing for learning. No? Most of the time when we teach writing to our students, we teach writing for learning, no? Because we want them to write accurate sentences with correct grammar, spelling. No, I mean that this is not important. Yes, it's obviously it's important, no? But sometimes we don't make it to write related to genres, no? Different types of taste, no? This is one of the most important things that we need to remember. So today we are going to start just giving fast feedback about the last class, talking about just a little bit related to writing for writing and writing for learning. And then we have to pass to the mechanics of writing. There's some aspects involved in the writing process when we write something. And then we are going to see some activities to build the writing habit, no? How to develop the habit of writing in our students, all right? So let's start. So as I told you before, so we have these two, no? These two ways for writing, writing for learning and writing for writing. Anybody can tell me briefly, shortly, what's the difference between these two writings? Anybody? Any volunteer to tell me what's the difference between these two writing? Anybody? Or maybe you can write it here in the chat. Anybody can remember something about it? Writing for learning and writing for writing. No. Nobody? Writing for learning and writing for writing. Nobody? Oh, Cindy, Diana, Fiorella, Flor, Catherine, Lucy.
Teacher, we use writing for writing, like new opportunity to remember the grammar, all about the another language, and the other writing for learning has a purpose. For example, is a preamble to the discussion.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, here you mentioned something that we did, no? That we could use writing to maybe read the introductory part of the whole, no, of a whole activity or task, no? Or maybe to reinforce, no? Remember that we talked about it, no? We talked about it. We could use the writing to reinforce, no? Reinforcement task, to make an introductory part, or maybe to be a part of a whole task, no? That's related to the things that we could use writing. But here are the two purposes of writing, no? Aha, Cindy wrote something in the chat. Writing for learning is when teacher gives students task. Yeah, that's it. Remember, we saw these two definitions, no? We saw these two definitions. Writing that helps the students to become better writers and learn how to write in various genres using different registers. Or on the other side, we have writing that encourages the students to focus on accurate language use, and because they think as they write, provokes language development as they resolve problems which the writing puts into their minds. So notice here, writing for writing is that you make your students write something to be better, not to become better writing, and they are going to learn how to write in various genres or types. Now remember, genres are the different types of text that they are going to write and in different registers. On the other side, writing for learning is, as Cindy says, no, when you as a teacher give some specific task, no, and this specific task encourages students to use accurate language, accurate language, and they need to think, no, they need to think carefully when they write, and they are going to improve the language development, and they are going to resolve problems or tasks which the writing puts into their minds. No? Notice these two ways, no? And we made a comparison, no? We made a comparison with reading, no? Reading, intensive reading and extensive reading. So here you have this kind of matching, no, connection with this. Okay, so don't forget it, writing for writing, or writing for learning. So try to combine, no? As I told you at the end of the session the last week, try to combine these two, no? It doesn't mean that, no, I'm going to use just writing for writing. No, it's impossible, no? So we need to use writing to reinforce, to introduce a topic. So these are some specific tasks that we use writing to reinforce the language, the structure that they have used, the vocabulary that they have learned. So we use this skill to do that too, right? So try to combine, no? This is most important here. Try to combine these two kind of writings. Okay, now we are going to talk about the writing mechanics or mechanics of writing. When you have revised a piece of writing for its content, you're ready to check it for its accuracy. Notice, so when you revise a piece of writing, you check the accuracy. And this is called, as we have seen it before, editing. So when we edit, no, maybe you or another person, no, remember the famous proofreading, no? We as teachers, we are proofreaders because we ask our students to give us the piece of writing and we are going to check, no? We are going to analyze. And what do we analyze? What do we analyze when we check a piece of writing? So we check the grammar, we check the spelling, we check punctuation or capitalization. So notice all the things that we are going to check in the editing process. Not just the teacher, you, when you write, no? When you write something, or the student, when the student writes something, so the student is going to analyze, no? Oh yeah, no, oh maybe, oh, I forgot to add the letter S. Oh no, this very is irregular, not regular. Oh no, oh here I confuse a letter, or I forgot writing a letter, or I add an extra letter. Hi, Elia. So notice, oh, I forgot to write here the capital letter. It's a country. Notice you or the student by himself or herself starts editing this test, no? And then the teacher starts editing the test or proofreading the test, and it's going to analyze some aspects of this writing, such as grammar, spelling, punctuation, and capitalization. So we have this mechanics of writing. We have the handwriting, the spelling, the punctuation, transitional expressions, and capitalization. So we have these aspects in the mechanics of writing, no? When we start editing, no? When we start editing the test or proofreading the test in order to check the accuracy of the language, you check the spelling, the punctuation, the transitional expressions, capitalizations, and also the handwriting when they are very little, no? When your students are very little, so you check the handwriting too. Let's see what is involved in this mechanics of writing. So we are going to analyze some activities in order to develop these mechanics of writing, okay? The handwriting challenge. Many English learners whose native language does not use the English alphabet have difficulty learning the alphabet and writing it, no? for some of our students, no, most of our students, no, it's a little complicated to write in English. Maybe for some letters, no, for example, in English, we don't have the letter that we use when we say año, no, la ñ, no? So we don't have it, or double L, no. So notice that we don't have this kind of letters, or English doesn't have this kind of letters. Getting used to upper and lower case letters and where they fall on the lines on the page can be problematic too, no? So the upper and the lower case and following the lines. So it's another problem that we could have, no? Well, as I told you, I think this case is more related to children, no? So very little kids, no? When they start writing something, no? So what could we do? So one of the steps that we must do is to recognize. They need to recognize the English letters before they can learn to write in, no? So I told you, this is from very little ages, at the beginning, no? Maybe you're teaching kindergarten, no, or primary, first, second, they have some problems, no, specifically with these kind of years, no, ages. So we have this, no? They don't know exactly how to write the letters, no, how to the letters, because they are very little kids. So they need to recognize, no? Student must be able to recognize English letters before they can learn to write it. So what could we do? So here you have one example, no? Letter string recognition, bet, pep, bap, bat, bet, dap, wet. So they match, no? They need to match, no? You tell them, yeah, circle the same word in this group of words. So they identify, no? They identify. I don't know, this is not similar. No. Oh, yeah, here, teacher. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, so they circle, no? So I told you, this is principally in kindergarten and the first years of primary, no? I think the first one, the second, I think they know how to write the letters, no? They recognize the letters. Another one you have here, a letter string recognition, a letter string recognition. This is one of the exercises that we could do with our students, no? Kids, not specifically kids. Or the other one, teacher can draw letters or words in the air, which students have to identify it, no? So you draw letters in the air. Yeah, I'm going to draw the letter here. Look at me, look at my hand. And you start drawing the letter, no? Oh, yeah, C, oh, B. So your students recognize, notice, they are recognizing the letters, how to draw them. As I told you again, kids, no? Kindergarten specifically. They start recognizing the letters. Well, in our contests, no, for example, here in Peru, most of the schools, national schools, state schools, they don't take English at kindergarten, no? Some of them maybe take like a workshop, all right? But it's a good opportunity to start, no? So you can teach them from very little ages, no? This is very important. And I think the government needs to do something with it, no? So they can take, in private schools, in private schools, they take English from kindergarten, from 3 years old. No, from 3 years old, they are taking English. So teacher who teaches at this age, so can do this, no, to recognize the letters, no, doing these activities. Students can write a word on a fellow student's back or hand, which that student has to identify it. So they draw again using their hands, and fingers. They're going to draw letters of word. Here you can say the word, no, on the back of his or her partner, and the other student needs to guess, no, identify. Ah, yeah, I think you wrote pen. Ah, it was not pen, 10. Oh, yeah. So like a game, no? Like a game. So they start recognizing, all right? They start recognizing. For example, these kind of exercises of activities, as I told you, is more related to a methodology, no? That's the famous TPR, the total physical response. Students need to move, do gestures, mimics, sing. No, and we use this kind of methodology in these ages, no, when they are kids, kindergarten, primary, not the first grades of primary. So we use this kind of activities. Now, the production. After recognizing, they need to produce. So production involves learning the direction the writing goes and where to position writing on the lines, then writing in cursive. So here you have joined up words from Learn English Handwriting, by Bernard Hartley and Peter Binze. So you have here, they start drawing, 10, 10, in a cursive way, following the lines, So to write these graphemes, Tin, tie, tam, to, te. So they start writing, they start producing these letters, all right? The direction of this, and the position writing on the lines, and writing in cursive. As I told you again, this is from the beginning, when they start writing. Another one, the students have 3 columns. In the left column, there is a list of words. The students read the left column, then they cover it and write the words in the middle column. Then they compare what they have written with the left column, and if necessary, write a word correctly in the right column. And notice here you can practice this. You can practice this. So you divide, in 3 columns, maybe the board or maybe a worksheet, In the left column, you have a list of words. So they read this list of words, then they cover it, or you cover it if you're working in a board. So you cover it with a bold paper or cardboard, And your students are going to write the words in the middle column. And then they compare, Then you can uncover it and they can compare. If it is okay, that's it. But it's not okay, so they could write again the word in a correct way in the right column. And so that's why here you have 3 columns, 3 columns. So this is the beginning. Notice this is the beginning of the writing process, when they start writing letters, words. So I told you, this is from kindergarten, kids, very little kids. Here you are. Another one. Students are given an alphabetical list of animals. They have to write the words in 1 of 3 columns: headed pets, farm animals, and wild animals. So they need to write, They need to write. They need to categorize, You have to give them a list of animals, and they have to write the words in 1 of the 3 columns. For example, you have pets, animals which are farm animals or wild animals. So they categorize them. Again, you can do it on the board, or you can give them a worksheet to work in pairs or individually, as you want, as you want. Maybe like a contest, Yeah, the group or the pair of students who finish first will receive a prize. So you can have the opportunity to make like a contest or like a game, The teacher can ask questions. What's the first date of the week? What pet starts with and ends with t? When does a new year start? And the students have to write 1 word answers. No, just one word. No, this remember this is the beginning, and this is the beginning. The handwriting. No, remember that you're developing in your students the handwriting. No, so here you ask questions to your students, and they have to give you simple answers. No, in a written way. No, in a written way. Now, the second aspect related to the mechanics is the spelling. Yeah, the spelling challenge. So, English spelling rules are relatively regular, but there are exceptions, no? Sometimes people think, oh no, teacher, English is complicated because you write in one way and you pronounce it in another way. No, there are no fixed rules to the writing and the relationship with the sounds, no? But most of the time, the spelling rules in English are regular, and obviously, no, even in our language, no, we have some rules, but these rules are broken, and we call them exceptions to the rule. So every language, each language has some exceptions to general rules. The same happens to English, no? That we need to tell to our students that, no? Because sometimes they think that it's complicated. No, it's complicated. Another aspect related to this is the homophones. Words that sound the same but are spelled differently. No, this is one of the trick, teacher. Do you pronounce the same? See related to watch, and see related to the thing that we have in the coast. Yeah, see, or to, no, to, the preposition, or to the number, or to the adverb. Notice 3 different words in the spelling, but they are pronounced in the same way. No, to. Wow. Some students think, oh, teacher, no, so hard. All right. Now notice that here we have these kind of tricks in the spelling. It's very important to teach our students, yeah, from higher levels, no, from the beginning, no, from higher levels, teaching prefixes and suffixes. It can be beneficial because they are in multiple words. No, remember, here in English, we have a lot of prefixes and suffixes, and it's very important to them to learn these prefixes and suffixes, no, to expand their vocabulary. Because if they have a suffix or prefix, so they can create more words and more words and more words, right? Using prefixes and suffixes. Now, let's see some general rules that we have in the English language that we need to teach our students. No? They need to manage these rules, no? These spelling rules. Let's see some of them. So here are the first spelling rules that students should know. Every word has at least one vowel. It's very important to remember that on our students. So every word has at least one vowel. There is no word without vowels. Every syllable has one vowel. Generally, remember, generally, every syllable has one vowel. There are some exceptions to this rule. For example, when we talked about phonetics and phonology, so we talked about the sound, the schwa, no? And I told you that this sound, the schwa, the vowel, is the vowel that English people use the most, but at the same time, is the vowel sound that they take out the most. And when they take out the vowel, so what happened with this rule? If here says that every syllable has one vowel, if you take out the vowel, so you don't have the vowel sound inside the syllable. But there is another situation, that there are some consonants that are going to take the function of the vowel, no? That's why we call these consonants syllabic consonants. And we don't lose the number of syllables, all right? We don't lose the number of syllables. So, but a general rule is this, that every syllable has one vowel. Here you have another spelling rules related to the pronunciation. No? For example, the letter C can say with two sounds, with the sound K or the sound S. C says S before an E, I, or Y. Sent, city, cycle. Notice the spelling rules. If it is before an E, I, or Y, so you pronounce it with the sound S. Sent, city, cycle. It says K before everything else. For example, cat, clip. Notice this general spelling rule, and it's related to the pronunciation. Another one. G, the letter G. Notice this letter G can say G or L. Again, two sounds. G or L. Remember, when you have the slashes, they are not letters, they are sounds, they are phonemes, G or L. So G may say L. Remember, this symbol is not the letter J, it's the sound L. L. So G may say L before an E, I, or Y. For example, gym, giant, gym. It says G before everything else. Garden, glad. Notice here the spelling rules. There are some general rules that we need to apply to this. Let's see more of them. The letter Q. Q is always followed by a U. Queen, for example, no? Quiet. Quiet, quiet. Here we have homophones, no? Quiet, the adverb, and quiet, the adjective. All right? The intensifier, quiet, and quiet, the adjective. No? Be careful with the spellings. Sometimes the students get confused, no? I'm talking about these two words. I'm going to write here these words. Quiet, quiet. Notice these two words. And sometimes they get confused. Oh, teacher, quiet is not with Q-U-I-E-A-T. And now you're teaching us Q-U-I-T-E. Yeah, the difference is that the first one, it's an intensifier, it's an adverb. And the second one is mostly an adjective, no? So don't forget, and here we have homophones, homophones. And both are with a Q-U, no? Q-U. So Q is always followed by a U letter. Another rule, double the consonants F, L, and the S at the end of one syllable word that has just one vowel. Notice the spelling double F, double L, and double S when it's a one syllable word and it has just one vowel and this letter appears at the end. The examples, stiff, spell, pass. Notice the F here is at the end. It's one syllable word, and before the F, you have a vowel. Just one vowel. If it has two vowels, no. And obviously, if it has two vowels, it means two syllables. Remember the phonological rule. The number of syllables is according to the number of vowel sounds. Remember, sounds. Another rule. To spell the sound of K at the end of a word, we use CK or K. Use CK after a short vowel. Notice CK after a short vowel. Sick. Sick has the sound, the vowel sound I. I is a short vowel because in English we have two vowels I, a short and a long, no? I, E, I, E. Sit, seat, sit, seed. Notice we have these two vowels. So the rule says, the spelling rule says, for the sound K, we have two spellings, CK or K. CK when it's after a short vowel sound. As in the example, we have sick, I. After everything else, use a K. For example, milk. Before the K, we have the consonant L. So it's not a vowel. It's not a vowel. So you just spell the sound with K, not with CK. Notice these rules. Notice these spelling rules are mostly related to the pronunciation. And a general rule is capitalized names. No? We use capital letters with names of people, countries, and so on. No? More spelling rules. A, E, O, and U usually say their name at the end of a syllable. Apron, me, go, unit. Words do not end in V or Y. We add a silent E at the end of the word. So in English, we don't have words which finish with the consonant V or the consonant J. No. So we add here the letter E. And we don't pronounce it. We don't pronounce it. Leave, have, arrive. Notice we don't pronounce the final E when it's preceded by the V or J. So these are the spelling rules. So the letter E is not pronounced. Another one, contractions replace letter or letters with an apostrophe to shorten a phrase. No, this is very common. Contractions. I've represents I have. No, so we use contractions. The apostrophe, no? The apostrophe. Another one, I and O may say I and O before two consonants. The letter I and the letter O, no? I, O, kind soul. No? The letter I is between the letter K and the letter N. Soul, the letter O is between the letter S and the letter O. So before two consonants. Then, yeah, and the sound yeah, notice this is the sound. Yeah is spelled DGE after a short vowel. Age, age, age. All right, so here we have age. And notice here these are spelling rules. Remember, these are the spelling rules and they are mostly related to the pronunciation. And as I told you before, there are some exceptions to some of these rules, as every language has. As every language has. Let's see. Now, some activities to teach spelling, to practice spelling to our students. Notice, reading practice. It's very important to make our students read in an intensive or extensive way, silently or aloud. But it's important that our students read, because when they read, they can recognize the letters, they can recognize the clusters, the patterns, how the English words are written. It's very important, reading. Identify a sound in a written passage or oral word list. So here we have the matching between the letters and sounds. The letters and sounds. So they need to identify this. They need to identify this in a written passage or in a word list. Another thing that you can do is to put words in alphabetical order, to identify here the letters. Give a list of words and have students identify the spelling rule. For example, notice this example. Look at the following verbs in the infinitive and with a verb ending. Can you say when the final letter of the verb is double and when it is not? So this is a very common spelling rule, no? When you add the ing or the ed, there are some spelling rules that you need to follow, no? And one of these is when you double the final letter. So they need to identify, no? You give a list of words and they need to identify the spelling rule, no? Clap, clapping, commit, committed, crawl, crawling, hint, hinted, hit, hitting, hold, hold, knit, knit. And notice that any, oh, clap, clap, then committed, commit, yeah, teacher, yeah. Consonant, vowel, consonant, you double the last consonant. Prefer, for example, run, sin, sit. So these words, no, they need to identify. Maybe you can ask them first to circle, no? To circle the word which is double. The final letter is double. Yeah. Clapping, no? So they need to identify first, no? They need to identify first. For example, yeah, teacher. Double P, double T, double T, double T, notice, double double N again, double T. Now, you can ask them, no? Yeah, now, what would it be the rule? Why do I double the letters in these verbs and not in the other ones? So they need to analyze it, no? You can make them work in groups, in pairs, individually. It depends also on the time, no? Because if you made activity as a group or in pairs, so it's obviously that you're gonna take more time, no? So, but you cannot equate it, no? So they identify, notice, they identify the spelling rules. Another activity that is useful is dictation, no? Especially if the dictation contains words which exemplify certain spelling rules. Another one is students are given cards with letters written and they have to make words. The cards should not only have individual letters on them, but also digraphs, trigraphs, and vowel plus consonant combinations. No? So you give your students cards, no? Cards with letters in the cards, and they need to make words with these letters. They need to finish, or maybe they need to add something before or after. No, it depends on you. But remember, not just one letter, maybe 2 or 3. That's why here says digraph or trigraphs. Could be vowels, consonants, or combination of vowel and consonant. So notice here, and they are going to write the word, no? To complete the word with the given letters. All right. Here you have some examples, no? With a GH. Oh, teacher, yeah, GH. I work with GH. Oh, yeah, laugh. You could say laugh. All right. Yeah. Oh, SP. Oh, yeah, spray. Yeah, teach. Oh, yeah, speech. Oh, EW. So they need to write. They need to complete the words. And according to the level, obviously. No? So maybe you want to practice. Let's imagine that you want to practice the writing of the irregular verbs in past, no? Because some of the verbs are tricky, no? To remember the spelling. For example, the verb think, thought. Some students, and I noticed, even you teach them this, how to spell it in class, or the right sentences, then after 2 or 3 classes, they forgot. Oh, teacher, what? GH, TGH. Oh, teacher, no, I cannot remember. So you can practice this, no? You can practice this. Another common, it's like a game, the famous knots and crosses or tic-tac-toe. This is a common name, the tic-tac-toe, where students have to pick letters clusters similar to the previous one. from one of the 9 squares and make words with them. No, no. In the previous one, you give them cards. No, you give cards and they need to complete. Now they are going to use this card, the tic-tac-toe, and they need to complete in a row. No. If they are successful, they can cover the square with a knot or a cross in order to try to make a 3 square straight line. For example, like this. Notice. And you give this card a pair of students. So the first one, I start writing. Okay, teacher, yeah. CR. Yeah, CR. Yeah, I'm going to start. For example, no? Yeah, CR. Yeah. Ah, okay. Yeah, and the other, oh, what happened? Just give me a second. Yeah. Yeah, cry. Yeah, the other student says, oh yeah, it's okay. Yeah. So now, so you made an X. No? Oh, yeah, an X. No? And the other student, now it's the other student's turn. Yeah, the other student's turn. And also notice here, not just the purpose is to write correctly the word. Remember the rules of the tic-tac-toe, no? You have to avoid that the student is going to make a line, no? In a vertical or diagonal way to make the line. So maybe you can, yeah. In order to interrupt the line, yeah, I'm going to write here in the middle. Try. Yeah, try. The other student, no? The other student, try. Yeah, this isn't. Yeah, you're right here, right? You're right here. The other student right here. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, the other student says, yeah, I'm going to write here. Yeah, here. Oh, school. Yeah, and X. So here you're right. The X. The X. The other student says, oh, no. Here is going to make a line, a 3 in a row. No, 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 no. So the other student says street. Yeah. So they put it here. No, no, you're not gonna win. Notice you're practicing the spelling, but at the same time they are playing. No, they are playing, and maybe you could choose. No, the teacher chooses the words or the pair of letters or 3 letters. No, the combination of letters that you think they're tricky for them. No, they are tricky for them. They are difficult for them, and they start playing. Notice they are playing, practicing the spelling. Practicing the spelling. All right. For example, I played this. What's a long time ago? With irregular past tense. No, I say, yeah, you're gonna play tic-tac-toe with irregulars. Yeah, start writing. You don't have to repeat the same verb. You need to write different verbs. So the students wrote, no, yeah, you start thought and start writing thought. And the other students the other student is going to check. Oh, no, teacher, he didn't write carefully thought. Yeah, he loses his turn, right? And the other student starts. Yeah, and the same, no? The same. You start in the middle or the diagonally as you want in order to win that tic-tac-toe. Notice you're practicing here the spelling. The spelling, how to write the words. Let's continue. Another way to play tic-tac-toe. Notice another example. It's like this. Notice. Now it's in blank. Yeah, it's in blank. So what are you gonna do? Notice here how to play it. This game is played with a partner. Each player needs a different color pencil. So you can play it here on the board, no? Player 1 selects a word from the word list given by the teacher. Notice here the teacher maybe gives a list of words. And player 1 selects a word from the word list and calls it aloud. Notice he's not going to write it. Player 1 doesn't write the word. He says the word. And player 2 will pick up a box and write a word. So here the player one is maybe is going to choose a tricky word, difficult to spell, difficult to write it, because student two is going to write it. So student two goes to the board, or maybe on a paper as you want. And player one will check the word to make sure if it is correct. If the word is incorrect, player one will show the correct spelling and the word must be erased. Then change roles. Continue playing until one player gets 3 correct words in a row. Now let's imagine that one of the words given in your list is the word naughty. Yeah, player one. So other students is naughty. So I'm a student too. So I need to write a word. Oh, naughty, naughty, naughty. Oh, maybe I cannot remember carefully the word naughty. Yeah, I wrote it, naughty. So student one, the person who said the word says, no, it's not correct. Naughty is not written in that way. Naughty is written in that way. Naughty. Yeah, so the other person loses his turn. Pierde su turno, no? And the other person starts. Notice, you're practicing here the spelling playing a game, no? The famous tic-tac-toe, no? The famous tic-tac-toe. All right? So these are 2 different ways to practice or to reinforce the spelling in our students. No, it depends on the vocabulary that you want to practice. No, it depends on you, on the level of your students. Another one is using secret codes, where each letter is given a number. No, I think this is very common. No, very common. The secret messages. No, secret messages. A is 1, B is 2, and so on. No, and students have to write messages to each other using numbers, which the receiving student has to decode back into letters. No, this is very interesting too. This is it's a very usual activity or exercise in the books, no? In the English books, to decodify, no? Decodify secret messages using codes, no? Using codes. For example, I saw this and I did this with the crosswords, no? When they finish completing the crossword, so they have a message or a word related to the topic, no? Another one is the backward spelling, where the teacher or students spell words backwards. No, the normal is forwards. No, yeah, secretary, C-E-C-R-E-T-A-R-Y. No, this is the most common. No, forward spelling. But notice here, this is like a challenge. This is like a challenge. Backward spelling. You spell words backwards. And then see who is the first person to guess the words. Notice here we have a change. You don't say the word. The person who is going to choose a word and spell this word backwards. And the other person needs to guess, no? And so he needs to identify this backwards in his or her mind, no? Backward. Oh yeah, this is the word. This is the word. For example, no, naughty, I-T-H-E-U-A-N, backwards. You are spelling the word backward. Oh, Y-T-H-E-U-A-N. Oh, what's that? It's tricky, no? This is tricky. Okay, but here you're reinforcing the spelling. Notice the spelling. Using some activities, no, games, contests. This is very important. This is very important. Okay, this is related to the spelling. Notice we have seen the handwriting, then the spelling, now punctuation. Teach students to use correct punctuation from the beginning It means capitalization, periods, comma, colons, hyphens, question marks, etc. Have students identify what punctuation is being used in a passage and why? Here you have these common punctuation marks, no? The period. Use a period at the end of a declarative sentence and in abbreviations, or full stops. Some books call this also full stops when it's at the end, no? Of a declarative sentence. Question mark. Use a question mark after an interrogative sentence. Quotation marks. Use quotation marks for direct quotations. Apostrophe. Use an apostrophe in contractions and to indicate possession. So here you have different uses of this question or punctuation marks, no? The comma, the hyphen, the exclamation, the colon, parenthesis, semicolon. So we have different aspects when to use these punctuation marks. Now let's see some activities that we could do with our students to reinforce, to practice the punctuation. Give a passage with no punctuation and have students put it in. For example, here. They arrived in Cambridge at 1 o'clock in the morning. It was cold with a bright moon making the river come silver. Andrew ran to the water's edge. Angela, hurrying to keep up with him, ran straight into him by mistake and pushed him into the river. So they need to, they are going to start writing the punctuations, capital letters, no punctuation marks, no exclamation, periods, full stop, commas, colons, semicolons, or hyphens. No, for example, they could start like this, no? Oh, yeah, teacher, here we have with capital letter. Oh, it's too big. It's too big. Yeah, capital letter. Oh, no. I'm going to write it again. Yeah, I think it's better. Yeah, teacher, capital letter here. Yeah, it's the beginning of the sentence, no? They arrive in Cambridge at 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, a period, a full stop. Teacher again, capital letter here. It was cold with a bright moon, comma. And notice making the river come silver. Yeah. Period. And they start. Oh, the final at the end, a full stop. And notice they start they start correcting, no? They start correcting, checking the all the punctuation aspects, no? Capital letters, punctuation marks, no? The comma, the period, a full stop, the colon, semicolon. So you give passages, no? You give some paragraphs or small tests, no? Try to make this a small test, not too long, and not too long because they are going to be bored. All right. So just for example, this just 3 lines. Notice is very small paragraph. So they need to identify the punctuation. Give a list of words, some capitalized and others not. Have students identify which are capitalized and why. Notice you give a list of words. Some of these words are with capital letters and some of them not. So you ask them, no? Yeah. First, recognize, no? If they are kids, children, primary, maybe. So yeah, first, circle all the words with capital letters. Okay, teacher. Yeah, Anita, April, Argentina, Australian, Andrew, Iceland. Yeah, now what do they have in common? Why they are written with capital letters and the other words not? Oh, Anita, proper names, teacher, countries, months of the year. So they start identifying. They start identifying. Why are they capitalized? No? So you give them a list and they identify. No? They identify why these words are capitalized or not. Another one is copying. These guys were copying. We may give students a list of words randomly organized, which they then have to rewrite in alphabetical order. We can also give them sentences which they have to write in appropriate boxes or columns. Notice, you give your students again a list of words in a random way, so in this order, all right? And then they have to rewrite it in an alphabetical order. Or you could give them sentences and they need to write it in an appropriate boxes or column. Notice here the example. Write the following sentences about mobile or cellular phones in the correct columns. Notice they are going to organize. They are going to organize. Mobile phones are good. Mobile phones are bad. So for and against, no? Positive and negative points. So they start copying. Notice they copy. So this way of copying reinforce some punctuation marks and also the spelling. No? Oh, my phone makes me feel safe. So the student recognize, yeah, the sentence starts with a capital letter and finishes with a period, a full stop. Oh, in the second sentence, we have here two apostrophes, like a quotation. No? Oh, in the last sentence, we have an apostrophe contraction. Notice here. This is another way. No, this is another way to practice the punctuation. Oh, I think it's also used for the spelling too. No. Another one, whisper game. Students line up and first student is giving a sentence. They take a minute to study the sentence and spelling, then try and write it down from memory. Repeat until the sentence passes through each student. So whisper, no? So you whisper. The first student, so students are line up. So you make your students make a line, no? And the first student is giving a sentence. So you, the teacher, gives the student a sentence. So the students read the sentence, no? Take a minute to study the sentence and spelling, and then try and write it down from memory. And you have to repeat until the sentence passes through each student. And so they need to remember, no? The punctuation, the period, if there is a comma, no? So they need to remember, all right? They need to remember and pass it to the other student and write it again. The other student and write it again. So you have to check them. Let's see another one. Sentence, paragraph, and test. So here we have parallel writing sentence production. Students are given one or two model sentences and then have to write similar sentences based on information they are given or on their own thoughts. So they start producing sentences. Notice they start producing sentences. For example, students are giving information about a particular character. They then see how this information can be combined in sentences with an and but. Notice using this conjunctions. Notice here conjunctions, cohesion. Remember when we talked about the last session, no? Cohesion. We use conjunctions. They have to write similar sentences about themselves. So here you have this activity. They need to write sentences. You give them model sentences about, about some information or maybe their own thoughts, their own ideas. And they need to combine this information to make sentences using some conjunctions. Not specifically and or but, you could use any other conjunction. So maybe you want to express reason, purposes, no? Or to give or to add information, give examples. So you could use many conjunctions, no? Discourse markers, no? Remember that we call this discourse markers, but we are using in a written discourse. And then they reinforce that by writing similar sentences about themselves. Notice here you have to make it more personal, right? Notice here, look at the following information about Carlos' likes and dislikes and read the sentences which follow. Carlos, music, hip hop, you have a check, classical music, an X, sport, football, tennis, check, check, entertainment, fields, clubs, check, check, food, spicy food, raw fish, spicy food, a check, raw fish, across. So then you have the sentences. Notice you have the sentences. He likes hip hop, but he doesn't like classical music. He likes football and tennis. He likes watching films and going out to clubs. He likes spicy food, but he doesn't like raw fish. This is the model. Notice, this is the model. You give the information about Carlos, then you write sentences about Carlos as a model, join in some ideas using but or and then what are they gonna do? Write similar sentences saying what music, sport, entertainment, and food you like. Use and but. Notice they are going to produce sentences about themselves. About themselves. All right. Another one. Pair sentences. Oh, a fly. The teacher asks the students to look at how pronouns are used in a test and then gets them to write pairs of sentences in which they use pronouns in the same way based on information they are given. So here you have this information, notice. So notice here, the teacher asks the students to look at how pronouns are used in a test and then gets them to write pair of sentences which they use pronouns in the same way based on information they are given. So notice here you have a short paragraph. So they need to analyze how pronouns are used. For example, oh yeah, Andrew Kinney became the youngest person ever to walk to South Pole. He is replacing Andrew. Okay, he telephone again is replacing Andrew. No, remember, reference. That he again had completed the journey. It took 2 months. It is replacing journey. It's referring to journey. We were delighted, said his father Terry. We're very proud of him. His mother Marilyn. Notice, so they start analyzing. And then they are asked to say who or what the words he, his, it, we, she, him, and they refer to in the test and how they know. They discuss the role of pronouns and possessive in avoiding repetition and creating cohesion. They then complete the following exercise. Read the notes about round the world chats woman Ellen MacArthur and write pairs of sentences for the 2 ideas in each bullet point. The second sentence should start with she, her, he, his, it, they. So we are practicing here reference, the use of pronouns. We use pronouns to avoid repetition and create cohesion. So first, notice first, they analyze it. So you give a model and they analyze the use of pronouns. Then they are going to write pairs of sentences for the 2 ideas in each bullet point. The second sentence should start with she, her, he, his, it, or they. All right. So notice here the purpose of this. No, this is activities called pair sentences. No, pair sentences. Here you have some examples. Helen MacArthur saved her dinner money to buy a boat. It was an 8-foot dinghy. Notice the student joined these two bullet points using pronoun. Avoid repetition. No? This person avoids repetition. Boat, it was replaced by the pronoun it. Boat, it. Two sentences. The second sentence starts with a pronoun. In 1994, she sailed around Britain. She was only 18 years old. She, instead of repeating Ellen MacArthur, so the person uses she. She sailed around Britain. She was only 18 years old. Now, let's pass to the paragraph construction, elementary level. Simple paragraph. This example employs a substitution drill style of procedure to encourage students to write a paragraph which is almost identical to one they have just read. Notice, a substitution drill. It's a procedure to encourage, to make your students write a paragraph identically, almost identically to one they have seen before or they have just read before. This is like a substitution drill in that new vocabulary is used within a set pattern or patterns. Students, read the following paragraph. Notice this paragraph. William Shakespeare is England's most famous playwright. He was born in Stratford-on-Avon in 1564, but lived a lot of his life in London. He wrote 37 plays, including Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, Henry V, and Twelfth Night. He died in Stratford-on-Avon in 1660. Notice, so the students first read the following paragraph, not the following test. When they have understood the information about Shakespeare, students are given the following table of information and asked to write a similar paragraph about Jane Austen. Notice, after they have read the paragraph related to Shakespeare and understood all the information about Shakespeare, so you can ask them questions, no? Ask them questions to identify what kind of information does it paragraph have, no? So now you give them some information about other person. Jane Austen, name Jane Austen, occupation, one of England's most famous writers, date of birth, 1775, place of birth, Steventon, Hampshire, lived, Bath and Southampton cities in south of the UK, examples of work, 6 novels, including Emma, Mansfield Park. Died 1817, Winchester. So you give, and they are going to write a similar paragraph about Jane Austen. Oh, sorry. So here, remember, a similar one to William Shakespeare. So they start replacing, no? Notice, this is a substitution drill. No, William Shakespeare, yeah, Jane Austen. And they start replacing. Jane Austen is England's most famous, no, writers. Notice that it's almost similar, right? Instead of playwright, writers. And so they start substituting and substituting. She, instead of he, she. She was born in, what is the information? She was born in 1775, Steventon, Hampshire. And so they just need to replace. That's why here says substitution. Remember, substitution drill. So they are going to write an almost identical paragraph. That's why you give the model. And that's why you give the model. Instead of William Shakespeare, Jane Austen, no? So they could write something like this, no? So maybe they write here, no? Instead of this, they write Jane Austen. Jane Austen, ya está. Is England most famous? Oh no, playwright? No, playwright is not here. Writers, no? Writers, yeah, writers. And notice they are substituting. And that's why he has a substitution drill. All right, substitution drill with the information given in the table. So they start replacing this information into this paragraph. And they start writing a paragraph, no? But in an elementary way. No, this is in an elementary way. All right. So this is called the substitution drill. Remember, substitution drill. Let's pass to the other. Control text construction, intermediate. Notice we are going to a higher level, no? From elementary to intermediate. Control. Notice control text construction. The logical organization of ideas, coherence, applies not just to paragraphs, but to whole texts as well. In this example, the students focus on the genre of report writing. Notice. So here they are going to identify the organization of ideas related to the genre, the type of text. And in this time, it is a report writing. How they are going to construct. Notice how they are going to construct a text, a genre. In activity 1, they work out the appropriate sequence for a report's 5 elements. This raises their awareness about a typical organization for such a report. In activity 2, oh, I think the picture is not so clear, it's not so big, right? In activity 2, they look at particular language issue, linking words, before moving on to stages 1 to 3 to write a similar report to the one they first put in sequence. So notice, oh, I think that you can notice so well. Yeah, just give me a second. I'm going to make it bigger. I'm going to pass to the, what's going on? I'm going to change here. I'm going to expand it. Yeah? Give me a second because it's not so clear. Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah, now let's see. Let's hope that you could see here. Yeah, oh, I think it's a little better, a little better. Yeah, notice here. In activity 1, they work out the appropriate sequence for report's 5 elements. So here's a read these abstracts from a report. Notice here you have these abstracts for the report and put them in the correct order. So they are going to organize. They are going to organize. So it means that they are going to be aware about a typical organization for a report. Then in activity 2, I'm going to remark it here, yeah? Let me see. Yeah, this is activity 1. Yeah, this is activity 1. So they have here the report in 5 parts, but these are in this order. So they have to reorder, no, an appropriate sequence for this report. This is activity 1, no? This is 1, remember, this is 1. Activity 2, notice, activity 2. So what they need to do? So they need to find these linking words in the report. So they need to find the linking words in the report. And, but, also, however, in addition, I'm going to put it in another column. Yeah, here, this is the report, no, the linking words. So they need to identify, they need to identify what kind of words this report uses to make this test more connected, no? Cohesion, remember, all right? And then they have to move to the stages 1 to 3, 1 to 3, to write a similar report to the one they first put in sequence. So then you have, oh, Edson? Okay, so here you have, I'm going to raise this, yeah, I'm going to remark the other one, stages 1 to 3, notice, 1 to 3, stage 1, think about the area where you live, no, the area where you live, make a list of the advantages and disadvantages of the transport system, think about the following things, buses, train, bicycles, and so on. So they need to complete, no, the advantages and disadvantages. Then in stage 2, use the information to write a report. Think of how things have changed in the last few years. All right. And here, notice, so this book works with some patterns. No, they need to identify the patterns. So here's this writing help, the layout, the vocabulary, and the linking. So they give students some ideas, some words that they could use, no, the structure, the pattern. The layout, remember this term, layout is the structure, the pattern. What is first, what is second, what is next, no? This is the layout. And finally, stage 3, check your report. Notice all the things. This is called controlled, control, because you control, you give some tasks in order to develop, no, this paragraph, to write this kind of test. First, they need to organize some ideas, recognize the structure, the organization of a report. Then they need to identify some words to connect sentences, to connect ideas, to connect paragraphs to. Then you give some activities to expand, no? To expand the information, to make this information real to them, not imaginary. And then he start writing the report, no? Following some layouts, following some vocabulary, or linking words. Notice this is called a controlled practice. Now, after having seen the mechanics of writing, remember we talked about the mechanics of writing. How can we teach handwriting, spelling, punctuation, how to teach how to write sentences, paragraphs, no? Now we are going to talk about the writing habit. How do we make our students, no? How do we make our students write? Because sometimes, no, nowadays our students don't like writing, no? So they like writing when they send messages or chats, no more. But then sometimes they find some information, copy, paste it, and that's it. No, they don't write. They don't write. So we need to create our students a habit, no, a writing habit. So the writing habits make students feel comfortable as writers in English, and so gaining their willing participation in more creative or extended activities. Notice the last part, more creative or extended activities. So they could feel comfortable. Notice they could feel comfortable when they write in English. And you can make your students more willing to participate in the process of writing, no? In a creative or extended activities. Tasks whose principal aim is to have students writing fluently and enthusiastically, often with more spontaneity and less actual preparation than in process and general approaches. Notice here, the principal aim of tasks This task, the purpose of this task is to make your students write fluently. Yeah, fluent. Remember, fluency is not also related to speaking. Yeah, it's not only related to speaking, but also to writing. Oh, Lucy?
No, teacher.
Oh, okay. So remember, fluency means that the person who is writing don't think too much, no? Don't think too much. So the ideas that they have in their mind comes easily to write. This is the meaning of fluency here. And remember, fluency is not just related to speaking, it's also related to writing. Production and skills. Remember, when we talk about production and skills, we have this term, fluency, in an oral way or in a written way. Yeah? Don't forget it. Spontaneous. Notice, spontaneous. Writing in different genres approaches. Two such areas of habit building are instant writing and collaborative writing. So two ways that we can make our students be more participant in the process of writing, be more fluent in the process of writing, so are instant writing and collaborative writing. What is instant writing and collaborative writing? Do you have any idea about them? Instant writing and collaborative writing. Do you have an idea? Can you give me some ideas about these two things? Instant writing and collaborative writing. No, nobody. Just give me your ideas. What you think, what you have in your mind. Remember, no, nobody. Instant writing, instant. What does it mean, instant? Similar to Spanish, no? Instant. What's the meaning of instant? Tell me.
Immediately.
Aha, yeah. Immediate, no? Immediately. That's it. So here, the students are asked to write on the spot. Remember this expression, on the spot, at the moment. Instant means at the moment, without much preparation. On the spot, remember, on the spot, spontaneously, at the moment, immediately. So you ask your students to write on that way. And what about collaborative writing? The word collaborative is similar to our language too, right? With collaboration, no? You're not going to write something alone. Students learn from each other, share goals and responsibility, taking off the pressure. This is the collaborative writing. For example, in some of the activities that we have seen before, for example, the last session, the last week, we talked about how to teach our students writing for writing, no? Remember, writing for writing was related to the genres. And at the end of the session, we saw some procedures, some procedures in order to identify the test, the structure of the test, no? We saw how to write a letter, no? Can you remember how to write a letter? So they need to identify, and they start writing the letter as a group, not personally, because they need to complete the letters on the board, no? Remember that the teacher divide the board on two columns, yes and no. So a letter accepting something or a letter refusing something. So yeah, how do you start? Yeah, teacher, the date. Yeah, now, yeah, come here, write the date. Yeah, then what is next? Oh, the address. Yeah, come here, write the address. Notice this is a collaborative writing, because they are going to write, or maybe some students wrote the date in not a correct way. So the other student, oh, teacher, sorry, but my partner, my friend, confused. he forgot one letter, the TH ordinal numbers. Oh no, it's a formal letter. No, the beginning is incorrect. Or the ending is incorrect. Notice they are learning from each other. Oh yeah, yes, you're right. Yeah, I'm going to correct it. So the goals, the purposes of writing, and the responsibility are shared. So the person, the student who's going to write by himself or herself has a lot of pressure. So here the pressure is taking off, no? Because the pressure, the responsibilities are divided. So we call this collaborative writing. Let's see some activities here. Instant writing, remember, students are asked to write on the spot. Sentence writing, dictating sentences for completion. A very simple way of getting students to write creatively is to dictate part of a sentence which they then have to complete about themselves. For example, we can dictate the following. My favorite time of day is, and they need to complete it. This is dictating sentences for completion. The best film I have ever seen is, for example, this kind of activity you also use for speaking, no? So you dictate, you start the sentence and the student needs to complete it orally, but here they are going to do it in a written way. They need to write at the moment. They need to, oh yeah, immediately. So yeah, write it. Yeah, my favorite time of the day is when it's cold. Yeah, that's it. Oh, it's the evening, the morning. Notice. So they start writing. Instant writing. One of the most exciting things that has ever happened to me is, and it depends on the level, no? For example, the first sentence is for a more basic level, simple sentence, but at the other two, you use more complex structures, no? Present perfect with ever, on the other, hold close with present perfect, no? So they need to identify the structures or more complex structures. And obviously they are going to write with more complex structures too, all right? So notice here, and notice this is very important to make it personal, to write about themselves, all right? So this is one of the activities to promote instant writing. Another one, writing sentences. Students can be asked to write 2 or 3 sentences about a certain topic. For example, suppose students have been working on the topic of hopes and ambitions. They can write 3 sentences about how they would like their lives to change in the future. If they are discussing education, they can write sentences about why exams are a good thing or a bad thing. So they start writing. They don't have so much time to think at the moment, on the spot. 2, 3 sentences, no more. 2, 3 sentences. Another one, the weather forecast. At the beginning of the day, the teacher asks students to write about themselves under the as if they were reading a weather forecast. What's the weather like now? Are you happy or tired, listless or energetic? Activities like this work extremely well for some students because they allow them to be creative in an amusing and thought-provoking way. So they are going to make a forecast, but about themselves. The weather is the student, right? So what are you like now? Are you happy? Are you tired? Are you listless? Are you energetic? So they are going to write about themselves under they as if they were writing a weather forecast. So they can create, they can create. They could be as imaginative as they like. This is the weather forecast. Another way is using music. Remember, we're talking about instant writing. Music can be a very effective way to stimulate a writing activity since it often provokes strong feelings and ideas. Choosing the right music is vitally important. Much of the best music for writing purposes is instrumental. We don't want the students to be distracted by listening out for words. Notice an advice here, a piece of advice given here is try to use instrumental music, to create a relaxing environment, right? But not too relaxing because they're gonna fall asleep, all right? So you need to choose carefully the music, all right? Why not with lyrics? Because when they hear a song with lyrics, they are going to try to identify, try to get the message, or maybe start singing, so they get distracted, So here the piece of advice is to use maybe an instrumental music. On the contrary, we want the music to speak to them directly. We need music they can respond to. All right, they can respond to. For example, I remember that I used this technique. It was in one of the books that I used before. So it was related to create a story. They need to create a story by listening the music. Some of the music were related with suspense, yeah, teacher. Yeah, I'm going to write a suspense story, a thriller story. Or maybe the other with sounds of birds or animals. Oh, yeah, maybe they are in the jungle. And notice they are responding to the music because it doesn't have any lyrics at all right? So they use the music to write. They use the music to write. They don't analyze the lyrics. The lyrics are distracting. Some kind you could use with lyrics, but maybe not too many lyrics, right? More music, and they can respond to this music. But here the piece of advice is to use instrumental music. Words. One activity is to play a piece of music and have students write out any words that come into their heads as they listen. Any emotive piece of music will do for this. Or you can use music from films, the famous soundtracks. So what kind of words can you think when you hear this music? Oh, teacher, sad. Maybe the music is so sad, So blue, sad, or maybe depressed. Another one with a lot of stream, high tunes. Oh yeah, pressure. Oh, anger. Notice they respond. Notice they use the music to write. When students have written down the words which the music has suggested to them, they can share their words with the rest of the class to see how others have reacted. Notice they interact. This is very important. They interact, not just by himself or herself. So, oh yeah, for me, I wrote sad, depressed. Oh yes, I agree with you. I think it's related to blue, sadness, loneliness, unhappiness. Notice, and they can share their words and they can expand their words, because maybe the first student didn't know what is loneliness or happiness. So no. The first student has just a basic vocabulary, sad, blue, depressed, but the other uses prefixes or suffixes, loneliness and happiness. So they share their words and they can help each other. Or maybe they have different reactions. For the other person, no, I think it's not that sad. I think it's showing anger. Maybe, because it depends on the feelings, you know, how each person reacts to the music. What is the composer describing? Notice, students are told that in the piece or pieces of music, they are about to hear the composer is trying to describe something specific. As they listen to the music, they should write down whatever they hear in the music. When they have finished, they can read out what they have written or show it to their classmate. The teacher can then say what the music was intended to describe. So here, this kind of music, instrumental music, most of them try to describe a situation, some feelings or emotions. So here you're asking students to guess, to identify what does the composer want to describe. And then the teacher checks their answers, the sentences. Then at the end, the teacher can say what the music is intended to describe. How does it make me feel? Teachers can play students musical excerpts and get them to write their reactions as they listen. They can be given prompts which will help them to do this, such as, what color do you think the music is? Notice, I'm matching with the colors. Where would you most like to hear it? Where would you like to hear that kind of music? Who would you like to have with you when you listen to this music? Who would be your companion, your partner? Oh, and notice here that we are using the music to provoke emotions, how you feel, all right? Reactions. So you could ask these kind of questions, no? What color, matching with colors, or where would you most like to hear this music? Who would you like to have with you when you do that, when you listen to this music? Notice you're asking for reactions, and they can write the reactions, no? They can write these reactions. Musical stories. The teacher dictates the first line of a story. Students should continue the story when the music starts. Students then hear a piece of music which is particularly nostalgic or sad or frenetic. Students write a story based on some music, but this time a contrasting piece of music is played. Then they show them to colleagues who then read out one of the stories. The class have to decide which bit of music it was written to. So notice all the things that you could do with this music. Write stories. So the teacher first gives the beginning, no? The beginning of the story, the first line of the story. And they should continue this story when the music starts. And then, notice, then they play or they listen to another kind of music and start writing the story or continue writing the story. Then they show this story to their partner, to their classmates, and they have to decide what bit of music was written to. The first one or the second one. Remember that you have these two kind of music, no? These two kind of music, contrasting music. So they need to write these stories. And the other person read one of them, and the other students need to guess what kind of music that test was written to. Notice I made something similar. Yeah, as I told you before, I made something similar. I didn't contrast, just one story, but I give them the opportunity to write different stories. No, I made my students listen three pieces of music, and they start writing, no? Once I give them some sentences at the beginning to start, no? To have an idea, general idea, and they need to continue writing the story, listening to the music. Remember, no lyrics, and no lyrics, just instrumental music, all right? Because this kind of instrumental music make your students respond. This kind of music makes your students write something about it. And you could use this also to speaking to, right? Yeah. Remember, production skills are similar. So we could use some activities for the written or oral way. Yeah. So here we have this. Okay, yeah, oh, the time. So notice here, we were talking about the instant writing. Yeah, remember, this is in order to develop a writing habit in our students, that they are gonna be more fluent, more enthusiastically when they write, all right? This is very important. So we have two things that we could do to develop this writing habit, is the instant writing and the collaborative writing. So next session, the next week, next session, we are going to talk about the collaborative writing. So today we stop here in the instant writing. Okay, yeah. So here you have different activities. Notice first we talked about the mechanics of writing related to handwriting, spelling, punctuation, sentences, paragraphs, and we saw different activities that you can practice this. And then we put to the habit of writing, and we are talking about these two aspects, no? The instant writing and the collaborative writing. Instant writing, when you ask your students to write on the spot at the moment without thinking too much, all right? This is the instant writing, no? So we could use here words, sentences, or substitution drill, no? Or more higher levels, the construction test, no? When they analyze how to construct a test, or you could use music too, no? To develop this instant writing in your students, all right? So we are going to stop here. Yeah, we are going to stop here. I hope that you could have these activities in your mind and you can use it. You can adequate it. Remember, no, it doesn't mean that what I show you, you have to do it the same. No, it depends on the level of your students, that time that you have. No, for example, as I told you, this activity, the last one, to create stories, listening to music. Well, I didn't make a contrast because I didn't have a lot of time, no? Because if you made a student write in contrast and then read out, so you need more time, no? But what I did is just to make our students write something very short, no, very short, by listening and extract a piece of music, and they start writing, no? They respond. Remember, instrumental, no lyrics, because they are gonna get distracted with the lyrics. So the purpose of the music is to make your student respond to that music. Yeah? Don't forget. Well, that's all for today. See you next session. Take care a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye, teacher. See you next class.
Bye,
Bye,
teacher.
teacher.
Bye-bye. See you next class. Bye-bye.